It was one of those scorching summer Saturdays when the air feels heavy and smells like sunscreen and charcoal. The whole family had gathered at my sister Jessica's place for my nephew Brandon's 13th birthday barbecue. Her backyard was dressed up with bright balloons, long folding tables, and a big blue pool glittering under the June sun. The sound of laughter, chatter, and sizzling burgers filled the air. I arrived carrying a neatly wrapped present, the wireless headphones Brandon had been begging for, $80, and a thoughtful card tucked underneath the ribbon. "Aunt Sarah," he called out as soon as he spotted me walking through the gate. "Did you bring me something good?" I smiled, trying to match his energy. "Happy birthday, Brandon. You'll see it later, okay?" "Why later?" He groaned. "I want to see it now. Because your mom said gifts after cake," I reminded him gently. He rolled his eyes in that classic teenage way and sprinted back toward the pool, already surrounded by his 3 friends, all shouting and splashing. I set my purse down and jumped in to help, setting up food trays, refilling drinks, carrying chairs, arranging paper plates. Mom sat in her usual spot under the shade, wine glass in hand, watching everyone with that smug little smile she got when the alcohol made her feel self-satisfied. Jessica floated between the kitchen and the yard, fussing over details, while her husband Tom manned the grill. Their younger boy, Connor, only 9, was bouncing high on the trampoline, shouting, "Mom, look at me," every 2 minutes. It was loud, messy, and typical, exactly what family gatherings always were. I wore a light blue blouse and white pants, clothes I'd put on for errands earlier that morning. I hadn't expected chaos. My phone was tucked in my pocket, and I figured it would be a nice, simple afternoon. For a while it was. We ate, laughed, took photos, and sang happy birthday. Brandon tore through his gifts in seconds, one after another like he was racing a clock. When he got to mine, he barely paused. "Headphones, cool. Thanks, Aunt Sarah," he said flatly before tossing the box aside. I smiled anyway, though I felt a small pinch in my chest. 13-year-olds aren't exactly known for their gratitude. After the cake, the boys darted straight back to the pool, screaming and splashing like they'd never tire. Jessica and I headed inside to clean up a bit. From the window I could hear them yelling and laughing. "They're just playing," Jessica said with a shrug. Boys being boys, I went outside to toss some trash and had to pass by the pool. The boys were splashing each other, throwing a ball, all roughhousing like typical teenagers. The air was thick with chlorine and laughter. I had almost reached the trash bin when I heard Brandon's voice behind me. "Aunt Sarah, catch!" I turned, startled. And before I could even raise my hands, a large red plastic cup came flying toward me. Not the cup itself, the water. Cold, chlorinated pool water hit me full in the chest, soaking my blouse, splattering my face, and streaming down into my white pants. My phone buzzed violently in my pocket, warning of moisture damage. For a few seconds, I just stood there dripping, stunned. My hair clung to my cheeks, my clothes were see-through, and every eye near the pool was on me. Brandon and his friends burst out laughing, loud, proud, the kind of laughter that fills the air with arrogance. "Oops," he said with a grin, no hint of apology, just pure pride. His friends high-fived him like he'd scored a goal. I turned toward Jessica, who had come outside, probably drawn by the noise. She tried to hide her smirk. Tom looked over from the grill, shook his head slightly, but said nothing. Mom, my own mother, threw her head back and laughed. Not a polite chuckle, but real laughter, as if my humiliation were the highlight of her day. "Brandon," I said, my voice trembling but steady. "That wasn't funny. It was just water, Aunt Sarah," he said, still smirking. "You threw it at me deliberately. It was an accident." "Accident?" I repeated. "You said catch and threw water. That's not an accident," the boys giggled. One even pulled out his phone to record. I turned to Jessica. "Are you going to say something?" Jessica hesitated, glancing between Brandon, his friends, and Mom. "Boys, maybe calm down a little," she said lightly. "Sarah, it's a pool party. People get wet." "I wasn't in the pool," I snapped. "I was walking by, and he threw water on me on purpose." "He's 13, she said, rolling her eyes. "He was playing around." I turned to Mom. "You're just going to sit there?" "What do you want me to do?" she said with a lazy wave of her hand. He's a kid at a pool party. I want you to tell your grandson that throwing water on people isn't acceptable. Mom took another sip of wine, eyes half-lidded. Sarah, honey, it's just water. Lighten up. You're being dramatic. I'm soaking wet, I said, feeling my voice rise. My phone might be ruined. And he's not even sorry. It'll dry, Mom muttered. Phones are waterproof now. Besides, he said it was an accident. He said oops while laughing, I reminded her. Mom smirked again. You've always been too sensitive. It's a party. Learn to take a joke. That one stung more than the water. Brandon watched, his grin widening. He was learning that disrespect had no consequences. His friends kept snickering. Even little Connor had wandered over to watch, sensing drama. Tom finally spoke, his voice half-hearted. Brandon, maybe apologize. I said, oops. Brandon muttered. A real apology, Tom pressed. Brandon sighed loudly, rolling his eyes. Sorry you can't take a joke, Aunt Sarah. More laughter followed. I looked at Jessica, then at Mom. Teach him some manners, I said sharply. Jessica frowned. It's just water, Sarah. You're making a big deal out of nothing. It's not nothing, I said. It's assault, actually. Throwing something at someone without consent. Oh, please, Mom scoffed, swirling her wine. You're not calling the police over pool water, are you? I'm saying it's wrong to teach him he can do whatever he wants without consequence, I said, my voice tight. Don't tell me how to parent, Jessica snapped. Then don't let your son throw things at me, I shot back. The silence that followed was thick, awkward, and mean. I could feel every eye watching me, waiting for me to storm off. So I did. I walked to my car dripping wet. My white pants nearly see-through, my blue blouse clinging cold to my skin, my hair dripping down my back. No one followed. No one called out. No one apologized. As I closed the car door, I heard Mom's laughter echo across the yard, that cruel, dismissive sound. At home, I peeled off the wet clothes and dropped them into the sink. My phone flashed a moisture-detected warning. My white pants were probably ruined, my blouse stained, but none of that mattered as much as the humiliation burning inside me. It wasn't the water that hurt. It was the principle. The silence. The laughter. The fact that not one of them thought Brandon was wrong. Brandon had thrown water on me. Mom had laughed. Jessica had dismissed it. Tom had been useless. And they'd all made me feel like I was the problem for being upset. I changed into dry clothes and opened my laptop. 4 years ago, Mom had asked me to co-sign her home equity loan, just for the application. She'd said, my income alone isn't enough, but with your salary, we'll get approved. You won't be responsible for payments. Just a signature. I'd signed because she was my mother, because she said it was just paperwork. The loan was for $75,000. Home improvements, she'd said, updating the house before retirement. She made payments for 6 months. Then she called saying she'd lost her part-time job. Could I help? Just temporarily. I've been helping for 3.5 years, making the monthly payment of $620 37 months, $20,290.40 plus the times she'd been short, the emergency repairs, the property tax help. Probably another $30,000, give or take, money I'd poured into Mom's loan while she drank wine at pool parties and laughed at her grants and throwing water on me. I pulled up the loan documents and raided through the co-signer agreement. I could request removal as co-signer under several conditions. One was if I no longer wished to guarantee the debt. Another was if I'd reason to believe the primary borrower was not acting in good faith and drafted an email to the loan officer, Marcus Webb, who had handled the original loan. Mr. Webb, I am writing to request immediate removal as co-signer on loan account, ending in 7392. Ask co-signer. I have been making payments for 37 months while the primary borrower has not met her obligations. I no longer wish to guarantee this debt. Please process my removal and notify the primary borrower that she will need TOR finance in her name only, or establish a payment history sufficient to continue the loan without a co-signer. Sincerely, Sarah Mitchell. I hit send. Then I set up a call for Monday morning. That evening, Jessica texted, You really left in a huff over some water? I didn't respond. Mom texted, Don't be mad. Brandon was just playing, You're always so serious. I didn't respond. Brandon's friend posted the video on social media. Me getting drenched, Brandon saying, Oops, everyone laughing. Caption: When your aunt can't take a joke. I reported it, then blocked all of them. Monday morning at 9. Wow, Icoled Marcus Webb. Ms. Mitchell, I got your email. I need to inform you that removing a cosigner isn't immediate. There's a process. I understand. I want to start that process. The primary borrower will need to qualify for the loan on her own income, refinance with a different cosigner, or pay off the loan. How long does she have? We'll send notification immediately. She'll have 30 days to respond with the plan. If she can't qualify independently, she'll need to refinance elsewhere or sell the property to pay off the loan. And the payments I've been making, those will need to continue until she's removed from the loan or establishes independent payment history, unless you stop paying, in which case the loan goes into default. If it goes into default, we pursue both of you for the balance. But as cosigner, you'd have recourse to sue the primary borrower for any amounts you paid. I want to stop being legally tied to this loan. Understood. I'll process the request today. Your mother will receive notification by Wednesday. Thank you. Wednesday afternoon. Mom called. I let it go to voicemail. Sarah, I got a letter from the bank. Call me immediately. Jessica called. What did you do? Mom is freaking out about some loan thing. I didn't answer. Tom called. Sarah, can we talk? Mom says you're trying to take her house. I texted back. I'm removing myself as cosigner on a loan. I've been paying for 3 years. She can handle it herself now. Mom called again. Sarah, you can't do this. I can't afford the loan without you. They'll take my house. I answered, hello, Mom, what did you do? I requested removal as cosigner. Why would you do that? Because I've been paying your loan for 3 years and you laughed when your grandson threw water on me. This is about the pool water. You're going to destroy my financial life over pool water. This is about respect. Something you didn't show me on Saturday. He's a 13-year-old boy. Boys are stupid at that age. And where did they learn to be stupid? From adults who laugh when they throw water on people. From grandmothers who think it's funny. From mothers who say it's just water. Lighten up. I was tipsy. You were watching. You saw him throw water on me. You heard me ask you to teach him manners. And you smirked and told me to lighten up. I didn't think you'd take it so seriously. I take $30,000 seriously. That's what I've paid on your loan while you drank wine and laughed at me being humiliated. Silence. 30,000. 37 months of payments plus the extras. The emergency repairs you needed. The property tax help. I didn't ask you to pay that much. You asked me to help temporarily 3 and 1 and 2 years ago. I helped because you're my mother and you're paid that by laughing when your grandson assaulted me. Assaulted is a strong word. He threw water on me without my consent while filming it, then posted it online. That's assault and potentially harassment. But you thought it was hilarious. What do you want? An apology? I don't want anything. That's why I'm removing myself from your loan. You can handle your own financial obligations from now on. I can't afford it without you. My income isn't enough. Then you shouldn't have laughed at me. Shouldn't have told me to lighten up. Shouldn't have taught your grandson that disrespecting his aunt is acceptable. Sarah, please. I'll talk to Brandon. I'll make him apologize. I don't want his apology. It's 3 days too late and only happening because you need something from me. What about my house? What about my dignity? What about being treated with basic respect? What about not being laughed at when someone throws water on me? It was just water. And this is just a cosigner removal. See how minimizing works? She started crying. You're doing this to punish me. I'm doing this to protect myself from people who think I'm an am. They can disrespect. You wanted me to lighten up about water. Now you can lighten up about losing your cosigner. I'll lose my house. Then you'll refinance or sell or figure it out. Like I had to figure out how to get home dripping wet while everyone laughed. That's completely different. Is it? You think your house is important, but my dignity isn't. I think they're both important, and I'm choosing to protect mine. I hung up. Jessica called an hour later. Mom's a mess. Can't you just sign whatever she needs? No. She'll lose her house. She'll refinance or establish payment history or adjust her lifestyle. Adults figure these things out. You're being cruel. I'm being clear. I'm done funding people who don't respect me. Over water. Over years of being treated like an am with no feelings. Saturday was just the moment I realized I deserve better. Tom called that evening. The bank says she needs to prove income, get a different cosigner or refinance by the end of the month. Sounds right. She can't do any of those things. That's unfortunate. Sarah, come on. She's your mother. She's also the woman who laughed when her grandson threw water on me and told me to lighten up when I asked her to correct him. Hay's a kid and I'm her daughter. The one who's been paying her bills. Who deserve better than being laughed at while dripping wet. So you're taking her house? I'm removing myself from financial responsibility for someone who showed zero responsibility toward me. 30 days later, Mom refinanced with a private lender at a higher interest rate. Her payments went from $620s to $950s a month. Jessica co-signed the new loan. I heard later that Jessica was helping with payments now, that Mom had to cut back on expenses, that Brandon had been made to delete the video and never got an apology. But I did get something better. Freedom from funding people who thought I was a punchline, and the knowledge that just water costs Mom $300 more every month in loan payments. Sometimes the joke is on them, and this time I wasn't laughing.